Dice Age is made possible thanks to the support of our patrons. We'd especially like to thank our living legend, Silgwyn. Thank you very much, and enjoy the show.
The Empire of Maca has existed for nearly 1,000 years. Founded and ruled by Avon the Main, the immortal Empress, it quickly expanded its borders thanks to the overwhelming power of its mages and the shrewd politics of its nobles. Now it has fully conquered the centre of the continent of Elmera, and although war has ended, peace still eludes its populace. As the Empire nears its first millennia, the signs of turmoil have become more frequent and apparent. Monsters are becoming more bold, nobles plot schemes of usurpation, and whispers of rebellion hang heavy in the slums. This gave rise to the adventurer. These strong individuals of all races and classes lend their might to the citizens of Maca to drive back monstrous incursions. There are even adventurers who perform deeds so noble that the people can see beyond their race to the hero that lies within. There are those who criticise these adventurers and claim they're nothing more than pawns used to advance the political machinations of nobles. Despite the immortal Empress herself making fewer and fewer appearances, there are those whose faith in the Empire remains unshaken. But the wise know that it only takes a few sparks to ignite the flames of change. Allow me to introduce you to these sparks. Welcome to Elmera.
Hello and welcome to Dice Age, an actual play D&D show. My name is Jack, and I am the Dungeon Master. With me, as always, are our wonderful heroes. Would you all please go around and introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm AJ, and I play Edgar Wood, the half-elf blood hunter.
Hey, I'm Alice Rose, and I play T, the elven sorceress.
Hey, I'm Dakota, and I play Esarius, the human rogue.
Hey, I'm Zach, and we're playing Tauros, your tiefling paladin.
Hello, I'm Trey, and I'll be playing Oberon Perseus Maximus Germanius Cornelius Alexander, your drow fighter.
Wonderful. AJ, I think you had something you wanted to talk with us about before we got started on the episode?
Yeah, actually got some notes from HR, being like, it's been a while since we've actually done any review, reflection of our work. So
we have an HR department?
I got an email from something called HR.
Okay.
So we're going to run with it because I thought it was a great idea of doing self-performance reviews. We just had a really big fight that we ended up winning against the fucking Sword and Madeir. So I thought this would be a great chance for all of us to recap a little bit of what happened. I'll talk about the things that we think went really well in the fight. Like, for instance, I could start with Edgar. Edgar, thanks to having a really great AC, was able to handle a lot of the grunts before joining into the fight with the Sword of Madeir. But tried really hard to get rid of as many of the towers as possible with the silent spell. Went well for a couple rounds, but immediately lost concentration. So overall, I think I did all right, but definitely a lot of room for improvement. Does anyone want to go next?
You just sent me the one for me. It says, I went around the battlefield doing my best to take out the engineers and trying to provide as much damage as possible while staying out of the direct line of fire of the Sword of Madeir. It helped, but overall, the damage to the engineers didn't really stop the cannons too much.
There's also a really important note on there, Dakota, that I think you should pay attention to. It says it's your fault the wall fell when the shatter spell, the cannons destroyed it, and that's entirely your fault. So I just think we should keep that in mind too. All right, who wants to go next?
I mean, I disabled literally every cannon except for one, and that one's going to be on the Monstrous Alliance side now. So I think that's pretty fucking awesome.
That is true, but it also, I don't know if you saw this little appendices at the end there, Alice. It does say
I'm illiterate.
You're the reason Mela died. You know, one of the council members. You are specifically the reason that she died. Trying to protect the city when it got overrun after the wall fell because of Dakota.
I think you're in danger of being demoted.
Can I play T then?
No.
Why don't you go next?
Ooh. All right. Yeah. So, I think Oberon did his job, which was getting in there and just dealing as much damage as possible. Did really good against the Sword of Medeir's first phase before she transformed and went all transcendental planetar on us. But then after that, it was kind of a bit of a struggle. She kept flying away out of Oberon's reach. And also, why is there just parentheses? Ha ha ha! Get wrecked, nerd. Lol.
I don't know. It's really crazy that HR wrote that.
It,
On yours.
so wait, it also says R.I.P. FLIP.
That must have been a typo. It shouldn't have said flip, right, Jack? I don't think it should say flip.
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't.
Well, yeah, you nailed it. The Phil/Flip's death is entirely on you, but we can move on to Zach.
Well, this has been a eye-opening experience, but you know what? I really think we stuck through it. Toast was basically just a healer this last round. He kept everyone alive. Really was just kind of hanging around Oberon like, buddy, stay in there. All of his lay on hands and cure wounds went to him. I feel like he did a pretty good job at healing.
Definitely. It's just such a shame, and again, this says this right at the end, that you couldn't use any of that healing for Skixie, as he valiantly defended the city while you just fucked around. Again, not my words. The words on your review. That wasn't me at all.
I became a meteor for this.
Well,
Jack, there's also a performance review for you.
Oh, there is.
I don't know if you had a chance. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's fine. It just says "fuck you."
Oh,
It
wonderful.
just kind of says that over.
That's
and over
interesting.
again. It's also at the end of it. It just says, "Why don't you shove one of your shatter cannons right up your hoo-ha?
Mhm.
Like just shove it right up there." And that's
Right.
it. HR
Okay.
comes straight from HR.
Right. So that's interesting because there's another person on this call whose name is just two letters. And I'm starting to suspect that he might be our mysterious HR.
Yeah. Fuck. I can't do this with anyone's name. Fuck. Fuck. End of recap.
Right. Wonderful. So now that we're at the end of the recap, we're just going to take a little break for me to talk to AJ about some stuff, and then once we're done, we will return to the world of Elmera. We return to our heroes. The battle is won. You have successfully defeated the Holy Knight Commander in her true form, killed her. Her soul having been claimed by the Reaper as a result of T's finishing blow. And the sudden and immediate evacuation of the now diminished Imperial army after the three council members, Skixie, Mela, and Philp, all gave their lives defending the city, preventing any massive casualties from the people within the now shattered walls of Ongar. There's some time to clean up the battlefield. Burial services are performed for the fallen on your side, as well as for the fallen enemies. And there's a large funeral held in remembrance of Skixie, Mela, and Philp as well, honoring them and their sacrifice and their contributions to the safety of the Alliance. Which is followed up with a massive celebration. There's drinking, there's singing, there's a lot of people who, despite the losses that were felt, are grateful that, as has been explained, the overwhelming majority of people in Ongar survived the assault, and that your forces remain very strong after this battle. During this time, what are you all doing during this celebration?
It's hard for Edgar to celebrate knowing that if they had just held out a little bit, he's like looking at the wall. If they had just held out a little bit longer, been able to delay the cannons a little bit, maybe, just maybe, it was as clean of a win as possibly could have happened, but he still can't get over the fact that maybe if they had been a little faster, the three Alliance Council members could have still been alive. So he's not celebrating right now. He's just trying to clean up around him.
Essa's gonna walk up to Edgar, seeing him in this mood, and go, "It's not our fault, you know. I can tell that's what you're thinking." Won't lie, some of them I'm thinking it too. If we'd just been faster, if we'd just been smarter. But we did what we could.
Yeah, I get that, but we just started a war. So
This
I'm
is a
gonna
war.
keep the mindset that we should always be better.
This is a war.
Some-
People die. It's awful. But we have to accept that if we're going to bring peace, if we're going to bring safety to these people. I've thought about it, and there's times where I think about not even all of us might make it out of this alive. But I've come to accept that because we're doing what's right, and we're fighting to save a lot of people from terrible lives. We're fighting to bring peace and rights to all who deserve it, all who need it. And that's worth giving our lives for, I think. I don't want to die, but I will fight with all of my life to make sure that we win this. I don't think those three will want us moping around and feeling sad. Not right now. You have a war to fight. There'll be time for grieving later.
Edgar doesn't say anything in response, but he does like lock eyes with us at this moment as he does. Get really impacted by this and resolves himself in his look as he just asks for a hand up because I imagine he was just down picking up some rope.
Yeah. Yeah, he just goes, "There's nothing for you down there," and he folds them up.
All right, on to the next shit.
No rest for us.
Yeah, puts a hand on Essa's shoulder as they walk.
Essa does the same.
Yeah, as you're walking through, you see several celebrating soldiers. One of the loudest people in the celebration that you see is Helska. She is very clearly intoxicated and is spinning tales about all of the fighting that she just went through. But she's also very careful to mention the ways in which Philp, Mela, and Skixie heroically mowed down enemies, kept people safe, distracted soldiers from easy targets, put themselves in harm's way, and acted as the bravest warriors they possibly could.
As I see all this too, I'm gonna just check in with the group. We'll be like, if we gotta meet at some point, just let me know. I'm just gonna go help my mom because I'm pretty sure she's fucking packed with people trying to heal people. So I'm gonna go see if she needs any help and check to make sure she's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You go to. There is a several temples within the city have been made into sort of makeshift hospitals. There are several, a good many injured soldiers, though they are still in fairly high spirits. Your mom has refused to partake in any drink in celebration, as she's still very focused on patching up wounds, stabilizing people.
I imagine she has an IV just for like caffeine, just like something to keep her moving.
Part of
a Tensa's floating disc with an IV pack.
Right. Part of the issue is also her having to like constantly give Gick something to do that isn't test medicine, quote unquote, on some of the people. Gick's like, listen, all we need to do is chop off the limb at this point to prevent gangrene, because that always fixes things. And your mom is like, we have antibiotics. That's something we can like.
I also just picture it's also like he has food poisoning.
Yeah.
I also like to imagine
Who
he's
keeps
saying,
giving him a hacksaw?
I was gonna say, I
keep getting a hacksaw.
I feel like he's like every time he says this, he's about to cut into someone's arm, and then she has to like hold him like a fucking like kitten, has to move him around.
Mm-hmm.
That one's not even hurt. That's one of the nurses.
And yeah, but your mom does appreciate the assistance that you bring in. She's not really in a headspace to like have a talk right now because she's in very much work mode. But as soon as you get in, she's like, okay, I need bandages on this person. I need this person needs some stitches. I need this person, like whatever you can do right now, go to it.
I tried desperately to use magic like I did to heal, like I did in combat, not realizing just how fucking exhausted I am as I'm like, never mind, I'm gonna embarrass myself. Let me do what I usually do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How,
You're like, don't worry, I got this. Cure wounds.
Give it a sec.
Usually this doesn't happen.
mm-hmm. Swear this never happens before. So how's everyone else celebrating or recovering or just dealing with the battle they just had?
I think S is gonna go to Planin and ask him a question. So like I'm gonna walk up to Planin and just find him if I can.
Yeah, so you'll find Planin is kind of like within the large like city center. He's kind of just sitting, like kind of smiling to himself as he's watching everyone celebrate. But he has this like kind of still this like look of sorrowful determination on his face, along with his smile as he watches everyone else celebrate.
I kind of walk up and seeing like he has a bit of a sorrow look as it tries to crack a joke and is just like, "Not one festivities, are you?"
Mr. Reyes, no, I celebrate in my own way. He says as he like pulls up a little cup, but you see that it's just like apple juice.
Fair. I sorry for bothering you, but I wanted to ask if you had heard anything from our friends over in Cashel, their progress.
Yes, I did receive word from our allies in Cashel. The Imperial Army there has, instead of engaging in an outright assault, begun a siege of the city. Luckily, Cashel has been enjoying a bountiful year, and there is quite a bit of food stockpiled within the granaries of the city. So, ideally, they have quite a bit of time before they need to worry about their supplies running short. From what I understand, they are currently planning on executing some works of sabotage to disrupt and destroy supply lines and stores and caches in the camps of the sieging city to attempt to force them to retreat and replenish their own stores.
That's so yeah, he thinks about the rebellion, their tactics, and goes, "Sounds about what I expected. Do you need us to head there?"
Well, that is on the other side of the Empire, and
We have someone who can teleport us.
we do.
Very clean, denoting to Carl, not Carlac, Colic,
Mm-hmm.
different person.
He does nod and says, "That is true, but I think we will want to hear a little more of their situation and consider possibilities of the next operation that your group can perform before we decide exactly what we have you all do. We especially should wait until we at least have And he kind of like looks down in his cup and says, "Do we have a full council again before we make those plans?"
I understand.
But do not let this old man keep you from celebrating your victory. I understand that you all performed admirably against an impossibly dangerous foe.
We did what we could.
Yes.
I like you guys. I
Sorry.
celebrate in my own ways. I said, you guys. I like you guys celebrate in my own ways. Not one to drink too heavily.
I understand. Well, and he'll like raise his glass to you and say, "Here's to the heroes of monsters."
There's still a bit of a sting with that, as when they got that title, they watched, so they realize the horror of war, and he's just like, he does like this grimace. He like tries to hide it, and he's just kind of nods to planning,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll walk away after getting the update about the rebellion.
All right. Anyone else?
Tauros would. He's not his tip top shape, but definitely doesn't much of a party person. He would offer up like assistance with like guard duty, almost just like keeping watch. And he's not as like at top of his game right now, but he's definitely not a crowd person. So if there's any kind of help he can do with any kind of like guard watch or anything, he would offer up that.
Yeah, there's definitely a guard who's who's at what was the wall right now, who is more than happy to let you take over his shift so that he can go join the celebrations.
Yeah.
There's not really too many people guarding at the wall right now, and most of them that are there are kind of like sweeping clean rubble, just moving it. There's like kind of a little stockpile that is being built up to like recover what bit of stone may be still workable or usable for rebuilding the wall. But there's this air that like we're not expecting anything to happen. Like they made their move and they got repelled, kind of situation.
Yeah. He'd assist where he can, but he just kind of keeps it aside. Kind of in the same vein of Edgar. He doesn't. He knows that he knows about war. Like this is a win. This is good, but internally, it still doesn't feel great to him. You know.
Mm-hmm. As you're working, Malika is going to come up to you. Or sorry, not Malika. Malik is going to come up to you. And she is going to just start, picking up what rocks that she's able to lift. She's never been exactly the strongest person. But as she's working with you, she'll just say, you did good, Oric.
We did our best.
I want to apologize for what I said back in Ella Creek. Back when you came with your friends. I said some stuff in anger to you about your situation and your decisions. And I can see from how you are now that I was wrong, and it wasn't my place to make judgments about decisions you made when you were in such a tight spot.
I certainly should have thought of better words before just barging to you, though. To be honest, like he kind of like almost as like a lightning tone as he tries to mention it, of like I kind of just stampeded to your door and asked very off kilter questions. Sorry, I kicked a metal rock.
A metal rock?
Oh, yes.
Metal rock.
That's so
I
weird.
believe it.
Just hear after this, and someone just go, "Ow!"
Oh,
Thinking in
fuck.
my head.
Who left all these metal rocks lying around?
God damn it.
Yeah, I should have barged in just like that. It was probably not the smartest idea, but I'm not usually the best with words.
She kind of chuckles and just says, "No, I remember I was the one who did most of the talking when we were friends. Are Can we still be friends, Tauros?"
Oh.
Say no.
No, what the fuck you mean no?
Oberon stabs her.
He kind of like
Rods.
moves. He kind of like moves a rock and is like kind of like focusing on like where he should put it, and he nods, like still trying to like think of the words in his head. I think I would like that. I think it'd be nice. I've missed you, or well, missed my life, but
She just smiles and says, "I've missed you too. And would you rather I called you Tauros, or is that like either or situation?"
I think that's the name I'd prefer now.
Okay. Then I'll keep calling you Tauros. Yeah, and then the two of you will, continue making some talk. She'll tell you about like what life was like for her growing up in Ella Creek after you left. She'll listen to you if you have anything to say
Yeah.
about your time living in Maven.
I imagine he like actually starts to kind of like loosen up of like as he can finally tell her this stuff of like last time they met he didn't know if he could, but like
Mhm.
now he's like he kind of goes through and explains everything. Like he explains what happened, how it went down. But he tries to do it more in like a lighthearted manner, not like, man, we fucked up, we killed a bunch of people, we fucked up again, we killed a bunch of people. It's a little, he tries to make it a little more lighthearted.
Right.
But he will kind of like go through it and very much like loosen up.
Yeah.
At the end of the story, she's just like, "Man, you killed a lot of people."
Hey, you guys fucked up
Never
a lot.
mind. Fuck you.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll say yeah. As time goes on, you're able to spend the evening reconnecting with an old friend. Who's next?
T is gonna spend some time restarting that letters she's not gonna send to Cammy
Mm-hmm.
and to friends back home. But instead of it being in this kind of hopeful tone, it's a little more a tone of like concern
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of desperation for their safety. Because obviously, she's very much tapping into the uh responsibility maturity side of her that she's never had before, and worried about people's safety. And it's something that she's like coming to terms with, but it's a very like solitary kind of celebration.
Yeah. Would you be doing this like privately in like the room that you've been kind of working and living out of since coming to Ongar, or would this be something you'd doing like
It would
outside?
probably be in a public space because she'd want to still like see the energy of the happiness.
Yeah.
She knows that she could spiral. So, someone could see her doing this,
Yeah.
but it's not like she's like, "Hey guys."
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
You know.
As you're working, you will just suddenly hear from behind your shoulder, "Oh, that's sweet. That's a nice thing that you wrote there." As Colic just kind of shows up.
Sight for sore eyes.
Oh, yes. Sorry I wasn't able to pitch in as much during that whole fiasco. I had to work on something. How was it though? I did get to see that last bit. Uh,
Yes, when our friend paid a visit.
Indeed. Seems that you've been making good use of the gift that I gave you.
I've certainly tried.
How are you taking to this newfound source of power?
It comes at an interesting time for me, I must be honest. It's. I'm both assisting in a revolution and learning to not be. I don't want to insult you by this, but ashamed of that side of me.
Hmm.
Most of my life I grew up trying to hide it, desperately, for fear of persecution.
No shame, sweetheart. No insult to me either. I understand a world crafted by a megalomaniacal woman obsessed with power is one that's hard to be your true self in.
It is.
Yes. I just wanted to check in because I know that some of the people that I've given this power to in the past haven't taken as well to it. So I wanted to make sure that you're adapting.
How so?
Well, some people dig a little too deep into the well of the Reaper, as it were.
Oh,
Power is incredible, and if used correctly, can give you a lot. But the Reaper takes, and if you keep giving into that, it's something that can overwhelm you. I don't want you to get claimed by him before I get my use out of you.
I definitely appreciate the concern. Is there something in particular I should be on the lookout for?
You may start to have, and as she's like talking, she's like walked around to the other side of this, like pulled up something to sit on next to you, and like she's got her little mushroom spirits kind of like walking around, like they push over a stool for her to sit on. One of them has like a little teacup balanced on top of it that it like bounces around up to her, and she picks it up.
So cute.
Mm-hmm. And she says, you may start to have visions. I might hear things. You might uh, get tempted to take additional uh, uh, abilities or amplifications. I would recommend to not follow those impulses when they arrive.
Huh.
If you're in a situation where you're going to be murdered right away or you have to take this option, uh, weigh the cost benefit. But just know that if you keep relying on the Reaper, it will take you over.
I'll be hesitant then. I
That's a smart
must
girl.
be I must be candid. I'm not I was already wary, wanting to be careful with such an unwieldy large power. But it's good to know more specifics
Right.
on the dangers.
No, of course, it's best to be perfectly aware of the things that you need to make sure you're not getting involved in.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'll leave you to your writing. Uh, Congratulations again on stealing a celestial for the Reaper. That was, and she like kisses her fingers, something I would have loved to do.
Thank you. I'll try to wear it as a badge of honor.
and she'll make her way. She like kind of wanders off, and then you blink, and you can't see her anymore.
An odd woman.
Not the word I'd use, but yeah.
Oberon's just there.
Oberon was there the whole time, and he's just like, "What the fuck?"
Meanwhile, Essa's just showing off his Reaper powers, like wanting to see me do a Reaper backflip.
Yo, you want to see me do a Reaper kickflip?
This is like turning the powers on and off repeatedly. Like, oh, that feels cool.
Life, death,
Every
life,
time
death,
he
life,
sneezes.
death.
He just sneezes and it activates. He's like, oh, damn it.
Yeah. Oberon's going to. First off, can I ask? The entire body of the Sword of Midir got taken by, right?
Yes, the entirety of the Sword of Midir was claimed by the Reaper.
Okay. Okay. That was just for. I feel like if it I was wanting to just double check and make sure because I'm like we would have looted the shit out of that thing.
Oh,
if
hell
it
yeah.
Had been. But Oberon's going to instead. He's going to go. Not really celebrate too much. He's going to check in on everybody. He's going to give definitely some words of respect for those that have fallen. But he is in a panic to check on Annie and Castor.
Yeah, you find Annie and Castor. They're with some of the other people that are celebrating. Castor sees you first, and he actually gives you a salute as you approach. And he says to you, "You did good. You kept the city safe as best you could, minimized damage. You killed the Knight Commander, which is unheard of. So, yeah, you did it."
My group, we did the best that we could. Wish it could have been better in some regards, but overall, a good success for today.
Yeah, he kind of nods, gives you this he has this look on his face that just shows he knows intimately in ways that other civilians that you pass by can't. The pain of a victory coming at the cost of allies.
Mm-hmm.
But then Annie's there, and she looks at you and she says, I'm so glad that you're alive." And she gives you a big ol' hug. And she looks up at you and just says, "Is the war over?"
Annie, if you wouldn't, he's going to turn to Castor. Can you show me to the room that you two are located in? Feel like there's a talk that I need to have with Annie that's long overdue.
Castor nods, leads you into, there's this nice hotel that if T sees you walking into it would recognize as the one that the Villain's Bane were based out of when you all were in Ongar last.
They're still there. They somehow
they're all back.
Dead, Yeah.
Somehow the drow woman is still alive.
She's still on fire.
She's still on fire.
She's become Fire Punch. And then
I got that reference. Yeah.
I read all of that in one night. Holy shit. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about right now. So you do get led to the room that Castor and Annie are staying in.
Yeah, he's gonna just turn to Castor. Just I'll, if I could just have a moment to explain this.
Yeah. He agrees. Steps outside, and Annie's looking a little confused and concerned, but like it's just like, well, what do we need to talk about?
The war is sadly, seemingly, only just beginning. We won a major battle, but as long as Aben and those that rule it still stand, this war will continue.
Uh, she does look sad. She is just kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. And she says, so what happens now?
Now, you and Castor will remain in Ongar, at least for the foreseeable future. You'll stay safe, and there's a bit of logistics that we have to go through before we can make any solid plans. But just know me, Edgar, and the rest of our group are working on a way to end this war sooner rather than later.
Okay. And then once the war's over, I can get my magic back, right?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just Trey trying to remember. Her magic, is it sealed away permanently?
As of now, it has been it is beyond mortal means to reclaim.
Yeah.
Uh, you may be able to negotiate with Elothan to come up with a deal to
Yeah,
return the magic to
but that would
Annie.
require another deal. It's
That
not
would
just once the war is over, poof, magic
right.
back.
It's the
Yeah,
deal was to seal away her magic. The deal was not to
yeah,
seal away her magic until it was.
yeah. Annie, I don't know. I don't know how this war is going to end in the first place. I wish that I could tell you that it will end with us being victorious and the evil people behind this no longer accosting us, but Annie, I was not 100% truthful to you.
What do you mean?
When an Alothan came to me, she gave me the option of you continuing your magic in secrecy with her or having it sealed and coming with her and staying here. Annie, we could not make a deal that would let her return the magic at a later date. Unless another deal is made with Alothan, your magic will remain sealed forever.
So we just need to talk to Elothan then. Then I can get my magic back.
It's not as simple as that. Annie. Gods do not try to sorry, gods do not are not bound by the same morality that we are. They do not see something, see that it is unjust, and immediately do everything in their power to make it right, especially a goddess like Alothan, who focuses on gaining knowledge gaining power, gaining magic. The price that would cost to return your magic could be great. And I think I know what it would be.
She's like on the verge of tears at this point, and she just says, "I love magic. What? How could it cost too much? That's the thing that I love the most. It's what I'm best at. It's what I I want to do. I need my magic back."
Would you take your magic over anything in the world?
Yeah, I'd take magic. That's what I want.
I'm gonna do a quick. This is just gonna be a wisdom save to see if Oberon can like the flinch that like crosses his face when
Well,
she
so
says that.
I'll say you have a high enough insight just passively that like you can tell that to her she's thinking about things. She's not realizing.
Yeah. No,
that- yeah,
I understand.
yeah,
He understands this. It's still just her saying it like that
right.
is what essentially what
Gotcha,
like
gotcha.
causing him to. He knows that that's a well that's a 6, but it was a 3 on the die.
Mhm.
He like just like his brows furrowing, he kind of looks to the side. The price to regain your magic would be for you to train with the law.
Uh, Again, she kind of looks like uh uh she makes a face like that's it. Like, and she just says, "But then I can train with the goddess of magic. Wouldn't that be mean that I would definitely become a great mage?"
You would become an amazing mage, better than grandfather himself. But Annie, you would do that beyond our plane. You would have to travel to Alothan's divine realm. And that's where you would stay.
Uh, that kind of like shocks her, and she just goes, "I have to stay forever?"
I do not know about. In fact, I think that she eventually would realize that it would be beneficial for you to travel the mortal plane. But to stay in the divine realm and to keep your focus on her teachings, you would forget about everyone on the material.
At this point, she's just like openly crying, and she just goes, "That's not fair. Why would I have to give up all of that? Why would I have to give up my memories? That's not fair. I just want my magic back."
It's not fair. You're right. When it comes to dealing with gods and beings like this, it never is. I'm sorry.
Um, at this point, she's just beside herself. She's just crying. She kind of just walks over and just kind of falls onto her bed, and just curls up and just that's how she's going to be for a while.
Oberon goes to put a hand on her shoulder, and then as he extends his hand, all he can see is his hand going to go shake with Alothans to make the deal that's occurring. And it just falls to his side. I'm sorry. And he just exits the
Mhm. Yeah. Caster's there. He hears Annie crying, and he says, I'll I'll stay with her."
Please do. Thank you. And like no other words. He just walks off and doesn't really enjoy many of the festivities. In fact, he kind of just he goes and he just kind of like finds a quiet place to sit down. Maybe like a even outside of the wall, like in like part of the act, like where the war took place, where like nobody's like going right now. And he just kind of like finds a quiet place and like sits down and just comes to realize that a lot of the choices that he made that he thought was gonna be for Annie's good really kind of almost were just for himself more than her.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll probably stay there until he physically feels like he's gonna like pass out of exhaustion, then like just go back to his room.
Yeah. I think with that, that's where we'll end it for this night. And next day comes, and there is a call for a meeting of the council. You all are invited to attend.
There will be no happiness post-war here.
Yeah, you all are at the in the palace along with Planin, Hildra, and Helska. And Planin says, "Before we continue any other activities, operations, plans, we do need to appoint new members to the council. Normally, we would call for an election. At this point, though, we are going to just be appointing interim council members to take the place of those that have fallen. We will have a full election once we are outside of the time of war. We will confer with ourselves and with the leaders of the various communities that are a part of our fledgling nation. And we will have a short, smaller election because of with us throwing in lots. You all are here in recognition of the great work that you've done for this alliance, and also to be asked if you have any nominees you have in mind for the positions. We're looking to elect 3 new council members. So basically, what we're is just each of you has the option to nominate someone as a member of the council.
I
Even
look
thought
at
about
Tauros.
this.
I look at Taurus. I feel like maybe there's an obvious one.
I agree, but what about the others?
Well, it's each of you can make a nomination. You don't have to all agree on the same person to nominate.
We can't all say Gick.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, you can say the same person. It's not a you have to each come up with a
Yeah.
different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are given the option to, if there is someone you'd especially like to see on the council, nominate them.
Edgar, would would your mother? I don't know if it's something that's in her position, but she does. She's smart.
Yeah. Do you want someone who likes politics, Planning? Because she fucking hates politics.
Well, right now we're looking for people who can help manage populations, be assets in the negotiations, or who have strategic aptitudes when it comes to conflicts.
I mean, she's the best healer I know, and she lived in the capital for most of her life.
Finn, just from the distance, what the fuck?
You're good. You're good, Fen. You're not my mom.
I can be your mom. Wait,
Divine intervention.
that never happened.
I don't know if she wants it, but I think she'd be good at it because she doesn't want it.
I understand. We will take her into consideration.
If you need some convincing, I can help.
Understood. Yeah. Anyone else have a nomination?
I elbow Toros. Come on.
I think Malika is a fairly obvious
Yep.
nominee.
Yeah. Planet nods and says, she has done a great work in helping to smooth over tensions between our people and the citizens of Ongar. She was someone that we had considered a very strong potential ally back when she was in Ella Creek, and I think that having someone who can be a voice not only for our interests but also a person for the civilian citizens of the Empire to recognize themselves in could be something very useful. Oh, Trey, your mic isn't picking up what you're saying.
Hello?
Yes, now it's working.
Okay. I haven't met him but a few times, but he seems to have helped you all out a lot. And what I'm aware, he has other ties too that could potentially help your friend Finn.
More of a work acquaintance, but yeah.
Damn. Fen once again pipes up.
Finn takes the armor away. Yes.
Fan thinks
And takes away your plus
The plus one.
Fan thinks the time he gave Edgar the holy weapon spell, and it's just like, I would never have done that if I knew he betrayed me.
He blew me up with that holy weapon spell.
He what?
To be fair. It made it explode.
Yeah, but it doesn't hit you.
It did. It blinded me. We looked at it.
I think if I remember correct, I mean, we may have just misdone it when
we made it. Yeah,
okay.
We made it hit Edgar because he got blinded.
We made it
hit
Edgar because it was funny.
Okay,
it's funny.
I hope if he could come, that'd be awesome. Especially if you need to rebuild this wall. Plus, his monastery and everything. I think he'd be great. He is preoccupied though.
Okay. Yes. No. We have been interested in forming an alliance with the monastery of Eurydice. That could. Fen does also seem to be someone who could provide a liaison between them and also show that we're a organization that represents people of all faiths. Certainly a good show in the event of those who wish to move away from the Sylvanus Pantheon can see themselves recognized in this. Any suggestions from Essa or Toros that are different from the three that have been mentioned now, or are you gonna or you can also just second an already existing nomination?
I second Edgar's proposal.
Mom.
Yeah.
You second Edgar's mom.
Don't.
Oh, whoa!
What does that mean?
Whoa!
Well, what does that mean,
What?
Trey?
Hey, yo!
I don't know.
Trey, what does that mean?
I don't know. I literally just asked. I just asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else taking it weird.
I want an answer.
Edgar's like racking his mind. Like, is there anyone like
Yeah, Taurus is
Dorsa and Narin? But she's handling
Garl?
Garl.
Oberon can't recommend Garl because Oberon never met Garl.
We also know Garl's all the way in
Kashel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In fact, Helska has actually she speaks of, and she says, I know that she's in Kashel right now, but Garl is one of the best damn negotiators I've ever met, and I know that she's currently away, but we have sending, we have methods of communicating and of being able to do things. In the event that we do elect her, I think it's possible that we can organize things to get her to work with us.
I have one more. As I don't look at my party as I say this one, because I get the feeling they're not going to be happy when I say this. But, again, just throwing out a possibility here. If you need representation and you want people who are good at listening and talking to the people, who don't always have to be here, T is really fucking good at this, and can be a representative as an elf on the council, could be really, really big.
I'm gonna look at T's expression.
As I shrink.
Shocked.
I shrink.
She's absolutely shocked.
You know, not gonna lie, wasn't expecting us to nominate somebody from the party, but
No.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
or if
Essa-
anybody, I was expecting it to be Tauros.
Yeah.
Essa speaks up and goes, "It's up to her, but I agree with Edgar that she has been proven quite capable of talking people down and improving relations diplomatically. When we first got here, she improved our relations with the townsfolk."
I'm flattered.
Planon looks at you, T, and says, would you be willing to take up the position if you were elected?
Absolutely. I'd, balance it with gallivanting wherever we may need to be. But I'd be honored to be asked.
Wonderful. Does Tauros have a suggestion that he'd like to make?
I heard about this guy named Neward. Neward?
Or listen, we can't bring Neward into this.
Neward has to be somewhere.
No,
No,
he
no, he
doesn't.
doesn't. He's a figment of your imagination, AJ.
This is for after the show.
I'm looking through my notes to just make sure, there's any other characters, because remember we talked about it last time, and all I can think of is looking back and saying, Neward?
I'm going to fucking smite CP, Zach. I'll find a fucking way.
Look, this is just me. It's like, look, we need a cook. I know a guy who makes really good pizza.
His name is Spaghetti.
Just,
You got so off topic.
Anyways, so
Tauros
yeah,
would.
Your fucking
He doesn't know enough people, and all the people that have been nominated, so he's going to second Edgar's decision for T, because
okay.
he would say, I do believe that she is our best speaker, but also she's very sympathetic with our cause from what we've done, so...
Also, she killed the fucking Sword of Medir.
She did. That's huge.
Well, that was.
I don't know if we shared that part, but she's the one who did it.
It was teamwork.
Like vaporized it. Like it's gone.
So at this point, immediately you all see Helska just stand up from her seat. She marches over to T and just claps a big hand on T's shoulder and says,
He sinks into the ground.
just says, "That's what I'm fucking talking about." And everyone just kind of like a bit of a hush falls over the room as like it's not common for Helska to give out praise like this. But
Edgar doesn't say it, but Essa hears it in his mind in Edgar's voice. That's hot.
But then Helska sits back in her spot. And yeah, so the nominations are in. So it looks like it's going to be Sierra, Ben, T, Garl, and Malika. There are also two other nominees that come in from other people. There's Squim Pickens.
Come on, man.
What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Squim Pickens.
Fuck everyone else.
I don't give a shit what their backstory is. I'm in.
That's it.
Squim Pickens, the apprentice of Philp.
That makes sense.
And then there's also Shira Folgen, who is a kobold war cleric who's fought alongside Skixie several times. The election is goes underway. It's only, again, it's just the current council members and the community leaders that are within the city. And the results are in. And although there were only 3 positions available, there was a tie in one of the votes, so they have decided to, because this is different times and stuff like that, to allow for a 4th position to be appointed to the council. Malika is elected to the council. Shira and Squim both get elected to the council as well, to mainly because of the desire for a more cross-cultural representation. And unfortunately, that desire for cross-cultural representation does mean that Garl doesn't get elected because being a Knoll, there's already a Knoll member on the council. They wouldn't want that to be a little too lopsided. And the 4th member of the council...
Actually, I thought my phone was ringing.
I
What the
thought
fuck
those
is that noise?
I thought those were gunshots at first.
Wow.
We got 30 minutes out of Memphis.
Is T. T
Holy
is
shit.
elected as a member of the council.
Ask if you get paid.
Hobson. Bullshit, please.
T, do you get paid?
Essa
There's a
I
salary.
imagine I would.
leans over to
Damn it.
Edgar and goes, "I rigged the vote. I voted twice so T so she would get in."
Yo, guys, I got like
No
6
way.
more. If we, I have like 6 more in my pocket in case we need to, rig a couple more.
I'm envisioning that scene from fucking like Total Drama Island when Harold like takes all the votes out and shoves all the other ones in, and that's just us with T.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, T is now a member of the council.
Holy shit.
And the first act as the council, they all meet. So now it's Planin, Helska, Malika, T, Shira, and Squim. You all meet, and the first issue before the council is what shall we name our nation if we once our revolution succeeds. So currently the favored name for the nation is the Allied Peoples of Elmera, but T, you are on the council. If you have an idea that you'd like to suggest, they are all ears.
Holy shit. Honestly, the Allied Peoples of Elmera sounds really nice. It's
Mhm.
it's a little wordy,
Mhm.
but it's a nice, like, unified kind of name.
Mhm.
What are the other names that are up? I know you
Uh,
mentioned a couple of them before. I can't remember if that was on Dishin or on the main episode.
I think that was Dishin, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Uh, honestly, I can't remember all of them except for the
Right.
only other one that I can remember was the Nation of Friendship. Uh,
Yeah.
or was it the Land of Friendship? It was one or the
Something
other.
like that. Some
Friendtopia.
hmm
unicorn looking ass.
hmm
Lovopolis.
I like that one. I like that one.
As a member of the council, no.
hmm
Damn, we voted the wrong person in, guys.
When we have a name, when the council picks the name, they have to make like a little slogan, to like represent the place. And I think I got one.
Oh.
Ape together strong.
God damn it.
Does Squim as the product as the student of Phil
Yeah.
bring up the name that I suggested in Dishin, Jack, of Philadelphia?
That Squim suggests that could be a city within the Flidane jungle. They could rename Ongar to Philadelphia. In memory.
God,
Kind
that'd
of
be
a-
amazing.
Not a whole country, but a town, absolutely.
But yeah, if you're okay with the Allied Peoples of Elmera, that will become the name of the new name for what was once the Monstrous Alliance shall become the Allied Peoples of Elmera.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, now the issue on the council, and then the rest of you are still allowed to attend council meetings, though not as council members.
I just have a sign for T. That says go T.
The next issue is attempting to contact other nations on the continent and see if there's a chance of getting them to recognize the Allied Peoples of Elmera as a sovereign nation, and also if they can get any military support. You all will learn that from the scouts that have gone out to observe the Imperial Army, it appears that they have begun a retreat. The current predicted course of action for the army is that they are retreating to Eadstown to regroup and recover from their losses, while the other half of the army continues the siege of Cashel. And then you all are invited to give your suggestions and opinions during council meetings, but it's only T who will get to actually make proposals and vote on actions and plans.
I wanna, when I hear that's gonna be a topic, I wanna send a message to Kin to see if they can come.
Yeah, they'll attend with you.
Yeah, I'll be like, when that gets brought, I'll be like, how'd you feel about going back to your homeland?
They're like, well, I haven't been to Nantua since I was a kid, but I mean, yeah. What's the plan?
I wonder if the group that came out of rebellion, I know it was with the Empire and all that, but that had a recent rebellion for their freedom, might be interested in supporting one happening up here.
That's a very good question. I think they could be receptive. So yeah. So during the meeting, you learned that some initial correspondence has already happened with the different peoples of the continent. They spoke to. So there are 2, 3, 4, 5 different peoples that are currently being courted as potential allies. The first being the Amenti hegemony within the Amenti Desert. The current leader is the Witch Queen Layli Zand. She's a orcish woman that leads the hegemony. The hegemony is technically a alliance of different kingdoms that exist within the desert. But when the Witch Queen rose to power, she effectively gained total domination over the hegemony, and she is effectively the sole ruler of the region. There is also for the people of Gul and Ite, they are led by they are individual clans and tribes that live there, but they do have a council of elders that meet periodically that represent the interests of the united clans in times that is necessary. The current speaker of the Council of Elders is a woman named Comic. She's a very well respected and but also pretty long in the tooth woman from the mountains of Ghoul. Among the plains of Menshite, the free cities of the humans, there's one city that has shown interest, or has been like they've been having more consistent correspondence with. That's the city of Tolestadt, that is currently led by Prince Yannick Belasio. Tolestadt is the largest of the free cities, and currently does sit in on the coast of where there's that. If you see on the world map, there's that bay next to the Bleak Fangs, where Tolestadt is situated at. The next place would be the Republic of Nantua, the lizard folk republic in the wetlands of Nantua that, as Edgar was discussing with Kin, has in the past century liberated themselves from the Kingdom of Elen, also located within the wetlands of Nantua, which is a Bullywug kingdom that, until the rebellion had ruled over the lizard folk and people, treating them in a very similar way that humans are treated within the Empire. And then there's also, of course, the Kingdom of Elen itself that can be a potential ally. So the Republic of Nantua is currently ruled by the President Samson Guillaume, and the Kingdom of Elen is currently ruled by the King Jean-Marc Duverger.
I'm not gonna write that down.
So the discussion right now is who we would want to try to negotiate with, to try to form an alliance with, and who we should send to try to begin these, as a dedicated envoy, or at least to if not send someone because of the pressing issue of currently being in a war, which nation to first reach out to.
I think it's covert as I cast message to T, thinking no one can tell what I'm doing. I was like, T, talk about Nantua. T, Kin has an in. T, talk about Nantua.
Planin will look to you and just be like, I understand that sometimes secrecy is necessary, but we would prefer if spells were avoid being cast during council meetings.
Talk about
Sorry.
Nantua.
There's like a subtle
with
like
that-
tap on the head behind like Edgar's head as Toros kind of bops him on the head.
And
Damn
with
it.
that, I do think it is a good point to pick up that we do have a member of Nantua with us.
That Kin will kind of nod and say, I've lived in the Empire for most of my life, but I am my father and I came here from Nantua. I am actually the descendant of a one of the generals in the rebellion, and I think that I could be able to potentially help with forming an alliance with them. And they do definitely seem a little nervous as they're saying all this.
When they finish, Edgar claps, not knowing the social cues. Is it
Toros hits him on the back of the head again.
No, Essa just goes, not the time, man.
Yeah. Planet nods and says, "Well, all right. We could potentially have you go attempt to negotiate with the president and see about what we could do to secure an alliance between our nations. Would you be willing to? I believe, and as he is like saying, I believe he's got like looking over to like another seat at the table where Colic is like currently uh like muttering to herself, and like a few of the mushrooms are kind of like just dancing with each other around in front of her at the table, and then says, would Colic, would you be able to provide transportation to Nantua?" And Colic just kind of looks up and goes, "Oh, yeah, no, I've got a circle that I can take us to there." Um, Everyone just kind of like nods. It's at this point where like most people know it's best not to ask follow-up questions to
Why do you have a circle?
and everyone just kind of looks at you, then looks back at Colic, and she just says, I never know when I'm going to need to be there." Uh, but yeah, they all agree that sending Kin to act as negotiator would definitely be a viable option. They, of course, would provide a group of soldiers to guard them as they go to be the envoy to Nantua. As
If
this,
I know Kin, they would probably be like, no, just give me the goth kids.
Mhm. No, they do say that, and the rest of them kind of like the rest of the council look at Kin and say, "Well, we can send them with you too, but we should probably also have, the more the merrier." And Kin like kind of looks a little uneasy about that, but is just like, okay, like the council's kind of like insisting that there be a larger group of bodyguards than just the three other just two other goth kids. um uh so yeah, so it's agreed that Kin will be the diplomatic envoy, the head of the diplomatic envoy to the Republic of Nantua. There is a moment where Helska does say, "No offense to your homeland, but the kingdom does have the stronger military power. Uh, should we at least consider speaking with them to see what options that they could provide to us?"
Edgar says kind of out loud, but Tukin, don't they suck? Kin, isn't that what you said?
Kin is looking, like, staring daggers into you, like, you didn't tell me I'd have to talk this fucking much. And they say, the kingdom certainly aren't great people. It is true that they do have the stronger military, but I am concerned about us allying with a group that has stood for oppression for so long when we're trying to fight against oppressors. And with that, that seems to Helska just kind of like shrugs, and it does seem to like get the other council members to kind of concede that point. So it is there is a vote called to end negotiations with the Kingdom of Elen. Uh, uh, how do you vote on that, T?
The Kingdom of Elen.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one we were literally just talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, nah.
Okay. So far, it's like, yeah. So it's agreed. We won't be making any alliances with the Kingdom of Elen. The next they say, so we have the Republic set up. Which nation do we want to look at next? Is there anyone here that has any existing ties or potential relationships or just ideas for how we could negotiate with any of the other nations?
Oberon looks around for a second, sees that nobody's everybody's kind of thinking, and goes, "I may have a potential way to. I would at least be able to contact and speak with the FA."
Oh, yeah. The rest of the council is like, oh well. And Plan says, right, you did spend quite a bit of time with them recently. Do you think that you'd be able to have them form an alliance with us?
That's where things get. I Desna, the elder that I was with, I believe that she is respected well enough to where she could get me potentially a meeting with their council. The issue would be getting them to agree to an alliance. If they, from what I've picked up, like to keep solidarity to themselves and not interfere with anything happening outside of the mountains. But there might be a way to gain their attention.
And what would this be?
It it's time to start working.
Mm-hmm.
Pull this up. There we go. This would be something that the Athenians refer to as the coming disaster. It was a prophecy foretold roughly a few hundred years ago that was used to unite the two warring factions of the Athenians. They came together in order to fight this, in order to fight this coming disaster. To this day, as far as I'm aware, the disaster has not yet happened. However, if we were able to let the Athene know that we are almost assured that what the Empire plans to accomplish and do is this coming disaster, we would be able to most likely garner them as an
There's some thought, like people thinking in the council, then uh, so many notes. Squim kind of pipes up, and she says, "But would we want to form an alliance on the basis of a falsehood?"
This could be seen as a falsehood. It could also be seen as, well, let's be honest, should what the Empire is planning come to fruition, it bears not well for anyone. This could, in all honesty, be what they would expect. We just, and Oberon does like sigh, we just don't.
There's some discussion, and then generally it does seem like the council is kind of divided on, do we try to frame the Empire as a the coming disaster, or do we just try to negotiate with them using Oberon without using that angle? Eventually, there's discussion, there's debate, but it seems that a consensus can't be reached through debate alone. And then Plandon says, at this point, we should, I believe the arguments have been made. Let's just have a vote and decide it. So now the vote is going to be, do we try to portray the Empire as the coming disaster? Yes or no? Squim and Plannon vote no. Malika votes no as well. What's T gonna vote?
Yeah. I think she's voting no
Okay.
because there is an angle we could go at where it's legitimately like, hey, this is big and terrible and could be the end of the lot. But it feels a little icky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
You know what's also going to feel icky? When we get smited.
Can't wait.
The man's got a point.
Okay, hold up. No, I have to address this. Potentially, not even lying, just potentially not telling the whole truth and manipulating that's icky. Making a deal with a hag to sell your soul after death.
Oh my god.
These are not equivalents. These are not.
You're right. One is much worse than the
That
other.
was just T fucking herself over, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a decision I made for me and my stupid body.
Her
But
body, her
that's-
choice.
Exactly.
Say something now, Trey. Say something now.
What now, bitch?
No.
You don't. Your choice
You
is stupid.
All right.
Do not shame me.
Mm-hmm. The vote is decided. The only people who did vote in favor of it were Helska and Shira. So T did prevent a tie. That is also something that they realizing in this organization that now we have an even number, so we might end up having a tie. They'd say like we'll address that if it comes up. And then the current plan is, if Oberon is willing to act as the diplomatic envoy to the Athe, to attempt to negotiate an alliance, but without using framing the Empire as the oncoming disaster.
Oberon in his head, he's like, yeah, they're not
Mhm.
Like in his head, he's like that, but he's like, "I said my piece. It was put to a vote." Like, oh well. So he just nods
Okay. Uh,
when Oberon
uh,
gets butchered by the Goliaths.
uh, next is they talk about now the only other two nations that we could potentially form an alliance with would be Tolestadt and the hegemony. Uh, as they discuss it, there's a lot of wariness about the hegemony. Uh, the hegemony has historically attempted to invade Elmera before, and while the hegemony does have significant military strength, there's almost certainly going to be a high cost associated with an alliance with them. Uh, uh, so there's currently some debate, and upon asking if anyone does potentially have an angle or a bit of something that can give an edge in negotiations, it does seem that the hegemony is the one that is one nation that they just don't have, that no one really has a potential way to come at them. So the current plan is to just send an envoy, but with no angle. There's no guarantee that there could be an alliance formed favorably, or an equal alliance or an alliance formed favorably on the side of the allied peoples. Um, Last is Tolestadt. Uh, and at this, they do ask if there's anyone who has experience with the free cities uh, or who may have a potential angle on assisting negotiations, or if anyone knows anything specific about Tolestadt or the Prince of Tolestadt.
As always, his hand go. I am from the Free Cities originally, but I can't assist much in terms of knowledge. My family were quite outcasted when I was there.
I understand. Planon says, if you have any information that you could provide us on the prince or on the city itself, we would be grateful.
Could I make a check to recall the prince?
Yes, make a history check.
Give me one quick sec. There we go. History?
Yes.
I was muted, but can I guidance if I see Essa thinking really hard?
Do you have subtle spell?
No. Oh fuck yeah! I got yelled at.
And
About
you
spells.
just
Never.
got yelled at for casting a spell. Oh
I
my
think
god.
about it. I think about it, and Toros bonks
No,
me.
if I had Mage Slayer right now, I would use my reaction to punch you in the face.
11. That'll have advantage on it.
So in 11 history, you're not incredibly familiar. What you do know is just stuff that little bits that you remember from your childhood, which are, it's not a lot because you had to cross the bleak things as a child. That takes up a lot of space in your child memory, and but what you do remember is mostly just what you get from conversations you had with your mother. And what you know is that Tolestadt is, yes, the largest and most prosperous city. There's also a reputation of uh, it's known that the Prince of Tolestadt is a very, some would say ruthless, others would say pragmatic man. There's a lot going on with him. It's also just because, the free cities, depending on who you ask, someone's going to love or hate any person in that place, especially the leaders. What's undeniable is that Tolestadt has been, since the current prince has taken control of the city has been seeing a very booming economy, has started seeing great power militarily, and there are even rumors that that the prince can or is planning to attempt to try to begin unifying the cities under his rule.
Yeah, Essa will explain all of that to the council.
Helska like kind of just nods and says, "Well, if he's got that much power, we're definitely going to want someone like him on our side." And but there's also some concern coming again from Squim, just like this concern over the perception of if he is someone who is ruthless or potentially a warmonger, is that someone we want to ally with? Um, and there's some hesitancy, but ultimately it is there. It does seem like no one has raised an objection strong enough. Like it's not like a Len, where it's like no, they're a kingdom with a history of oppression and destruction. So there is kind of this decision that we should at least attempt to negotiate. Planon does ask you, Essa. I understand that you said that your family was not had faced some prejudice against them. You are the only member that we know of that has come from the plains, the free cities. Would you be willing to serve as envoy? But again, we understand that if that would be something that would be unpleasant for you, we can send someone else.
Essa goes, I can attempt. I'm not the greatest speaker, but I can make an attempt to go back there.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. So, with that being done, it seems that the plan currently is they'll be sending Kin to serve as envoy to the Republic. They'll be sending Oberon to serve as envoy to the Athaish. And they will be sending Essa to serve as envoy to Tolestad. Those of you who are not as well gifted in negotiations, which I think are Oberon could probably be decent.
Decent.
Yeah.
I think
Oberon's
Oberon's got like a 14 charisma proficiency with like persuasion.
Yeah, and I don't think Essa has a terrible charisma unless I'm misremembering.
It's 14 as well.
Okay. And Kin,
but it's Essa.
And Kin does also have a 14 as well in charisma. So
also I can the lowest I can roll on a persuasion check is a 16 because I have
there you go.
You have I thought you meant you had expertise.
Reliable talent. No,
Yeah.
I have proficiency.
Okay. Well, they will still have assistants coming with you all that aren't guards that will be serving as people to assist with diplomatic negotiations. That will also, if something happens and you do need to be recalled back to Ongar, they can take over negotiations after you all leave. And with all of that planned out, you all prepare yourselves to be teleported out and begin your diplomatic missions.
Before that, Edgar would want to speak up, and before that, Taurus, if I say something stupid, just hit me again.
The hand is like hovering. It's like hovering.
So I know there's a lot of shit going on with the other nations right now, but there was something I was hoping we could also try to do within the Empire itself. If we could try. In the adventures me and my friends have been on, we've uncovered a bit about Famora, and in that also uncovered a bit about Maka. So I was wondering if there was any possibility we may be able to try to start sharing the story of what truly happened with Maka, a way to possibly undermine Morrigan, but try to share a story of love between those two and see if there's anyone within the Empire itself who may catch on to that. See if that resonates with people. See if there's a way to go to any place that may be still following or praying to the fallen god Maka, but see if we could possibly grow something there.
Yeah, Planin is like beaming right now. He nods and says, I think that's a wonderful suggestion, Edgar. I know that it would potentially take a lot of work to convince some people who are worshippers of Maka that about what truly happened. But I think now is the time to attempt to correct the record, as it were. So that's agreed to. And as you all prepare to begin your diplomatic missions, we're going to have the camera move away from Ongar, and instead we're going to see fly over the fields until we reach the city of Eadstown. And in a this office, we see two figures standing. It's dimly lit. It's late at night. And the first figure says, "So, you understand your mission?" And the second figure just nods and says, "Yeah, no, I get it." And the first figure says, "Good. Make sure they get the message." And with that, we will end this episode of Dice Age.
Whoa!
That's
Let's
probably
go.
fine.
Probably a friend.